And some of what you argued today about the GSI of the children, the ages, how many you have substantiated?
We believe we have 5 total, 4 that are uncharged that are substantiated. We're waiting on some lab results from the Bureau of Criminal Investigation and Identification. We're also trying to gather some outside information to verify some of the things we have about dates and times and opportunities for the defendant to have been alone with the victims. All the children are under 10. Some of the allegations involve rape, as this one does, but the vast majority of the others are more of a touching issue, which would be a gross sexual imposition.
Through the complaints or the phone calls you got from the parents, how did it come to be that the defendant was at both of his daughter's house? Was he visiting? Is he crucial to this daycare process? How did he just show up?
Obviously, not being an essential element of why he was there, just whether or not he was or was not, I don't know exactly at each of these times. The oldest allegation that we have that we've investigated that I've been informed of is November 2010.
So these are in-home daycares, not like a daycare center?
These are in-home daycares.
How long has this been going on?
Obviously, I only know what's under investigation. The investigation began on June 27th. The date of the incident that's been indicted is June 27th.
With victims younger than 10, what is your expectation for a trial here in terms of?
Obviously, it's a difficult situation, but the job of the Athens County Prosecutor, as any prosecutor in the state to pursue truth and justice, will present the facts, allow the judge to determine competency of the witnesses that we have, and allow for other avenues of proof we have to come forward. It's a difficult case. It absolutely is. There's no doubt about it, but we don't get paid to only take the easy ones.
So if allowed, children could testify?
The judge will have to hold an in-camera inspection as to the child's understanding of telling the truth and lying, and their comprehension and ability to understand and remember essential facts. Obviously, the child's been interviewed through our Child Advocacy Center, has been through medical exams, and we have some other source evidence to use.
This case that's been indicted, how old is the child?
Under the age of 10.
And it hasn't been indicted yet, just charged?
No, this case has been indicted.
Okay.
With the number of children that seem to be involved with this, and the support that he has from his family, do you normally see that kind of support for someone who has been accused of something of this nature?
I think people generally have support from their family, whether they're accused of doing something, and even after they're accused of doing something. So, I don't think there's a judgment of whether or not the family supports him as to the ability of the state to prove his case.
In court, you said there was one victim that was 27 months old?
That's the youngest victim that we have that I'm aware of, but that is not one of the 5 substantiated victims I discussed. An allegation against a child under the age of 3 is extremely difficult, and without having some other substantial proof, there's not much hope at all for a 27-month-old to ever be able to testify.
So how young is the youngest person then that is part of the 5 that you're looking at right now?
4.
4-year-old.
You said there were several other claims, obviously, besides the 5 that aren't substantiated. Can you give us a ballpark on how many other allegations there are?
No, I think that would be unfair. The issue here is what we're willing to charge, what we believe there's substantial proof to. Not to discount any other allegation that may or may not have come forward. The issue is what the state of Ohio is willing to prove and charge.
Has your office or any child protection agency issued any recommendation to these 2 daycare centers, these home daycare centers?
When the investigation initially began, Athens County Children's Services, which is under one of my represented statutory clients, advised for them as a safety plan not to have him back in the home. And so obviously, to our knowledge, that continued. I believe it was the proper course of action because we can't charge someone before we can substantiate an allegation, feel that we can prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. So it was the necessary step, and it was all that we possibly could do, and it seems to have been complied with.
Is a plea bargain on the table in case, these kids are young? Would you be willing to take a plea bargain?
I think it's difficult to talk about any resolution in the case until there's a defense attorney. If the case needs to go to trial, the state's ready to go to trial, we'll go to trial tomorrow.
You argued for $2 million. Why did you argue for such a high bond?
I think there's a concern about once the defendant became aware of the allegations against him, the potential penalty. He's definitely a flight risk. Given his age, even the minimum mandatory sentence as charged currently could be the end of his life in prison. I mean, he wouldn't be eligible for parole until 10 years from now. And with that, I think that it's more important to protect the public and have such a high bond.
Are they under investigation, or was it just him?
The investigation that's been conducted by Children's Services and the Athens County Sheriff's Office has led no indication that the individuals in the daycare had any knowledge or participation in these allegations.
So they will continue to function?
And it's 2 daycares.
There's 2 daycares, okay. And they still will be allowed to function normally within the parameters of the state.
Whatever, within what's allowed by the state, yes.